better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romancing the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, ah, I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning in to Romancing the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
I'm Mikey Randolph.
And I'm Todd Schlosser. And this week, I made you guys watch The Breakup.
The Breakup. I'd like to start with asking you, Todd, why you keep picking movies you've never seen before.
So I actually have a formula for that. So I couldn't think of a movie that I wanted to watch last week. So I went to, and I typed into Google, biggest box office successes, lowest critic score, rom-com. And this was like number 3 on that list.
Okay, that's actually a pretty good formula. I mean, this movie is insufferable, but like I can't fault your process is what I'm saying.
But this is not even romantic comedy in my book.
It's definitely on the line. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's definitely on the line. I would say we just came off of Magic Mike XXL. So like, this is way more romantic than that.
No.
Oh, I don't think so. I've got to steer this ship back.
No, there is kissing in this movie. There are dates in this movie. I mean, it's not just dudes popping hoods.
It's a romantic comedy in reverse. They just break up. That's the title of the movie. That is the movie. They're shitty people.
Nobody pops a hood anywhere, and I felt cheated.
Actually, that's not true. Vince Vaughn pops the hood at his bowling league.
No, that's like popping a jar of pickles. I want somebody to pop the hood.
All right, I'll do it right now.
No, we don't have all day.
So I know I hadn't seen this movie before. Have you guys seen it before?
Yes.
I'd seen portions of it and turned it off because I disliked it so much.
That is the accurate response.
But this was famously reviled. Like, people hated this movie when it came out.
Yeah.
That was me.
And after watching it today, I get it. This is a bad movie.
Me too.
It was marketed like a romantic comedy. This is height Vince Vaughn.
Well, and they were dating at the time. So it was like...
Oh, shit. They were actually dating in this?
Yeah. No wonder it didn't work out, right?
I saw it in theaters, and I hated it.
Yeah, okay.
And I never saw it again until today.
Until I made you. You're welcome. So I had never seen it either. Paige, was this your first time to completion?
This is my first time all the way through.
Yeah.
I texted you guys when I was like in the beginning of it, and my stance has not changed. I really hated this movie.
Yeah.
I was not a fan. In part because I think this movie thinks that there's fault on both sides.
It definitely tries to convey that message, even though it's not really that way in reality.
No.
I have something to say.
Okay.
Vince Vaughn is shitty.
Yes.
Jennifer Aniston is a terrible communicator.
See, here's the thing. Here's what I will take issue with.
They're in a long-term relationship.
They live together. They own a condo.
Vince Vaughn is shitty. Like, systems theory, both people are at play. And I think Vince Vaughn is the villain, full-on villain of this film.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
But if you never have hard conversations with people you're in relationships with, things will never get better.
But she does. That's what drove me fucking nuts about this movie. Because at the end of the movie...
Oh, and he's got to listen.
Well, yeah, he just does not listen to her. But at the end of the movie, he's like, why didn't you say any of this? And I'm like, she fucking word for word said this shit in the first scene of the movie.
Yeah, she yelled it at you, you idiot.
Yes.
She said it differently.
I don't care. She said it in plain fucking English, man.
I feel like I'm going to be a couples counselor in this thing, and that's fine. But yelling at each other in an argument, which is what they do, mostly him, those messages are pretty much lost. So if you really want to communicate important subjects to your significant other that are very important to you, that upset you, you have to sit down and have that. They have one healthy conversation, and that's when he's like, why didn't you say it like that? I'm like, because you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And then, but like, you have to sit people down, make people listen. And if they don't, you have to walk away.
She does have to walk away because he's the one who yells. He doesn't listen to her. He literally considers no one outside of himself. He's the most selfish human being on the planet.
Yeah.
She should have never gone out with him, for starters, because he's a fucking predator. But like, she should have left week 2.
Right.
Like they should not have been together for 2 years.
How did they buy a condo together
Oh, I don't
with this
fucking
communication
know.
style? So like the whole thing from like a mental health perspective is like, has the relationship always been this way? Did things change over time? All you get is the montage after he like makes her eat a hot dog.
You don't know how many times she's had this conversation with him before.
But I'm like, if he was like this from the beginning, good for her for growing and leaving.
Yes.
And that's a good moment. But I also feel like these are all very serious things to talk about in a relationship. And this movie fails on every level to actually address these issues and talk about what works and what doesn't. And the scene at the end is so dumb.
Well, they replaced it. But anyway, we'll get to it in fun facts.
I would like to know that fun fact.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I think good for her for walking. I'm so glad she walked away because it's almost an abusive, neglectful relationship.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what you see here is like the cycle of abuse, like played out in comedic terms, almost like verbal and neglect, and like and her voicing opinions and him not listening. It's just I don't know. It's something about it rubs me the wrong way as like on a professional level.
Yeah, by the time I got to the end of the movie, because this movie keeps playing it as he does something childish and hurtful, and then she responds in kind to be like, do you see what you just did? And then he's like, how dare you do that to me? And then he escalates. So by the end of the movie, when they're finally like leaving and she's like trying to maybe get back together with him at one point with the fucking concert tickets, I'm like, bitch, run. He is toxic. Like, he is terrible. And you should have just, that first night when you broke up with him, you should have fucking walked out and started selling the condo that night. Fuck him.
Yeah.
Fuck him to death. He deserves to be single forever until he can act like a fucking adult. It is gross.
And I think the movie is trying to say that the breakup is good because they both grew. And I wish it does this better. I think she needs to grow where she's like comfortable setting boundaries.
Yes.
And saying no, and him being comfortable of like, looking at other people's needs first.
Or looking at other people's needs at all. Like, not
At
even
all.
necessarily first.
At all.
At all.
It's okay
Yeah.
to be like, well, this is what I want. This is what you want. Let's compromise. But he doesn't even hear their needs.
Yeah.
I think it fails to do that, but not to mention, that's not a good romantic comedy. That is a very serious thing of like serious core relationship problems. And you see people stay in stuff like this and you're like, girl, you need to walk away. I don't know. It's not a good movie entertainment wise because it's everything bad about relationships marketed as a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it really started to grate on me. And I'll talk a little bit about it in fun facts because I found some facts about like how it was written that made me even angrier. But like the movie tries to play it as if it's tit for tat. Like he does something, she does something, he does something, she does something.
Yeah.
See, they're both terrible and they both had to grow. And it's like, no, you are somehow making Jennifer Aniston the villain or trying to make Jennifer Aniston the villain.
Yeah. Or at least an equal villain.
Or an equal villain in a situation she should not be putting up with. When she says in the beginning of the movie, I deserve to not have to live like this, she's absolutely fucking right.
Yeah,
and she should
right.
walk out the fucking door and the movie should be over at that point.
Exactly. It should be a 5-minute movie.
Yeah.
The part I disagree with her is that she goes about to try to make him jealous to try to get him to change to be more caring.
Which is gross. Yeah.
The whole thing rubs me the wrong way. I think Vince Vaughn's character in Wedding Crashers is a nicer human being and sweeter emotional being
I would agree.
Yeah.
than this movie.
100%.
Here's what I wanted out of this movie. I wanted the beginning to be exactly as it was, for Jennifer Aniston to break up with him, for him to go to the bar, realize that he's a terrible person, and then spend the rest of the movie like trying to grow and trying to get her back. And like that would have been like the romantic comedy part of it, right?
Yeah, they have movies like that.
Yeah. The other frustration I have about the like her trying to make him jealous plot line is it's gross. It's sad. It is the behavior of someone who has been treated badly and is not
Yes.
valuing themselves. And so I'm just like, the fact that they're playing that A as her handicap in the movie, and B then still trying to make it seem like she's mean for doing it. I'm like, he should be on the fucking curb. Like, I don't understand why A, she's still trying to interact with him at all. they paint her as pathetic, but then evil at the same time. And I hated it. This movie is gross.
Yeah.
Real not good.
I mean, I understand why they both stayed there. Like, it's both their homes. They bought it together. No one wants to secede to the other person, the whole condo.
Yeah, of course.
And so I understood that. Like, when my ex-girlfriend cheated on me, I just slept on the couch for 10 days before I moved home. Like, so there was that awkward time period. I know what that feels like, and it's real shitty. But, like, you know, you just try not to interact very much, and you just get the fuck out of there, you know?
Todd, I don't want you to take offense to this. I think this movie brings up a point, because I've had lots of friends go through with this, and you guys can jump in, because I bet some of you know these situations where I've had friends who were not married, buy places together, and then break up. And unlike divorce, where there's like legal, you go in front of the judge, you split your assets, it's like a legal procedure.
Yeah.
Like they are like, it's like muddy water, and it takes a lot, almost longer than a divorce in some instances to split that stuff. Or they're like, I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to sell at this house. You're going to move out, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I'm keeping that money you gave me and stuff like that.
Taking a on, huh?
100%.
Literally, that happened to a buddy of ours. Yeah.
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 Him and his fiance broke up, and they pooled their money together to buy a house. And like, it took them forever to fix all that.
Yeah.
And they lived together like this for like a year.
Yeah.
Fuck. I've heard of a lot of people doing that. But like, you can sign documents when you buy a house that determines how assets will be basically dispersed if at any point you choose to do so.
Oh, like a prenup?
Not necessarily, because you're not married. Like, but you can do it with people that you're not married to, where you can basically say like, hey, if at any time we decide to terminate, you have to give them like first right of refusal when selling.
To like buy out your equity or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's possible, but a lot of people don't think about doing that.
That
Right.
would be a smart thing to do, but most people are like, we're in love and we're definitely going to be together forever. We don't need to plan this. I mean, I love humanity. We're emotionally driven. I mean, I love emotions. They're great. But also, like, logically, you know, if we're just logical, it'd be like also bad. I mean, like, it's beautiful, baby, but it's also a disaster.
Mikey, all of my worst decisions were made based on emotion.
But some of your best ones were probably made.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I rarely am logical.
We know.
We know Todd.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have to know this already.
Todd has one logic, and that is, what is pettiest? And that's the
What is
Todd way.
pettiest and
Yeah.
how do I do it?
Yeah, how do I implement the most petty?
Yeah. I also feel like we're going to get through this movie fairly fast because nothing fucking happens. The pacing in this movie is
I texted him, and I was like, this episode's going to be like 30 minutes long.
of just us screaming.
There's literally 35 minutes of Vince Vaughn playing video games in this movie. And I say that as a video game. Also,
No, you're absolutely right.
I play video games, but I'm also an attentive partner, and I have a very big offense to this movie.
I don't think this movie's going hard at video games. I think it's going hard at bad boyfriends, which
Yeah,
I think you can play video games and still be a good boyfriend.
I think there's a stereotype that if you play video games, you would be a bad boyfriend.
I think in 2006 that was a stereotype. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, that still happens to this day.
Well, okay.
Trust me.
Like, I think it depends on how your partner is playing video games. Like, is it all consuming? Now, what I do think is they just weren't creative about Vince Vaughn's character, because he could have been doing a bunch of shit. Like, why is he not constantly playing pool on that infuriating pool table?
Yeah, why is he not like shrinking back to his 13-year-old form? This is obviously the sequel to Big, where he stays big and marries the adult.
Honestly, I like that reading of it. I really do.
But then I feel bad for him because he's a victim of abuse, like sexual abuse.
Yeah, I mean, Big is problematic if you rewatch it today.
Yeah. I mean, what he really needs is when he turns back into a teenager for the Zoltar machine to be like, show me on Zoltar where she touched you. Because that's what happens in that movie.
Yeah, I recently rewatched Big with my family, and they're like, wait, he sleeps with his coworker? But he's 13. And I was like, yeah, the 80s were different, right?
Oof.
Yeah, the 80s were different. Remember that time we watched Ghostbusters for the podcast and he's like, Dan Aykroyd straight up gets a ghost blowjob that none of us remembered?
Oh, at least the ghost is of age. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you hope it could be a little kid ghost.
Ghostbusters
Paige,
walks.
no.
I mean, it's probably been a ghost for at least 21 years. Don't know for sure. I'm so sorry.
Although I am going to start Ghost Pornhub. I'm just going to say it right now.
Just get a fog machine and a fleshlight and
Yep.
dreams.
Yep. Everyone's going to be shot on green screen. That way I can turn the opacity down to like 50 and it looks like you can see through them. Yeah.
I was at dinner with friends and we theorized what would happen if you put a fleshlight into the gas, like the exhaust pipe of a car, and then drove it.
You would die.
Nope, there's video.
Yeah. If you think someone already hasn't fucked their car without a fleshlight, you're crazy.
Oh, I know they have without. We were like, what if you got creative and
Yeah. What if you made it more enjoyable?
We're only 10 minutes in. Can we cut it down the sex toy talk for a minute? We are watching the breakup, which has nothing to do with fucking cars.
fine. All I'm saying is that they drove the car and it made a hilarious like sound.
Don't want to know that.
It's called a Karif.
Yeah. 0 to queef in 60 seconds.
I live my life 1/4 queef at a time.
I'm trying to have a family with
Family.
this car.
Yeah, come over for my barbecue.
All I'm saying is I wanted one scene where Vince Vaughn was sleeping on the pool table.
Absolutely.
Like just like quilts or whatever like blanket he has.
He might be too tall.
I mean, you could cheat it. It would be fine. And I know he's too tall because Vince Vaughn's tall as fuck. But like, I wanted it. That's all I wanted. Because then he could be like, no, this is my bed. I didn't buy a pool table.
He's an emotional 13-year-old. It's this movie's exhausting.
Yeah, because he is a child. He acts like a child the bulk of the film.
Yes.
And he doesn't listen to anyone until his friend is like, you're an asshole.
I
Yeah.
love his friend. I do also love Jon Favreau, but I love his
Who
friend.
does not love Jon Favreau?
I know.
Yeah.
I love his friend in this movie because he's absolutely right like 30% of the time. And then the rest of the time, he is offensively wrong. Like, not
Wrong.
just incorrect. He is like incorrect to the level it is offensive.
Like, it will put you in prison.
Yeah.
It's that offensive.
Like when she first breaks up with Vince Vaughn and he goes to the bar, and Johnny is his name in the movie, the bartender, Jon Favreau, is like, yeah, maybe she's just sick of dealing with your stuff. Or maybe she's fucking somebody else. Maybe we should kill that person. Like, to me, like the first thing he said, he was right. He nailed it. And then he immediately went to murder.
Yeah. He goes to murder like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
That makes sense because, like, when your friend comes to you, say, like, when something bad happens and you know them, like, his first instinct was too honest. He's like, maybe she's tired of your shit because you're a selfish person. And then his face is like, "Ugh." And he's like, oh, maybe she's sleeping with somebody else. We should kill him, right? You're definitely not selfish. I can't deal with this right now. I'm at work.
I know where I'm not going to turn for comfort when Natalie breaks up with me.
Jon Favreau? I mean, you've never even met him, so I feel like that's going to be tough for you.
I love that this movie falls in at a time where Jason Bateman wasn't like where he is now. He wasn't Teen Wolf 2, but he wasn't like Arrested Development yet. He just looks very different to me.
Well, I think Arrested Development was out, but it wasn't popular yet.
Yeah, Arrested Development was never popular until after it went off the air.
Yeah. Because Arrested Development's like 2004, and this is like 2006.
It was 2003 is when it started. Wow.
Arrested Development and The Critic are two shows that were way ahead of its time and
Yeah.
would have done very well like 10 years after they came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember at the time that Arrested Development was out because my dad worked in new homes and we had like family friends who also worked in the new home industry. So our family friends watched it and they were like, this is hilarious because like we know people like this, kind of the same way my entire family is watching Righteous Gemstones right now.
Yes. So good.
And they were super into it and like they were early adopters, and then I didn't find it until like college. So yeah, it was early and just unknown.
Interesting. I also really love that Vincent D'Onofrio is in this, and I
For like
think
10 seconds.
I think Vincent D'Onofrio is amazing, but I feel like he always makes at least one very awkward choice about his character. And in this movie,
Was it the handkerchief in the ears?
so I think it was more than one in this movie, but in this
Yeah.
movie, clearly he made the decision that his character did not like being touched. And I thought
Yeah.
that was very funny.
That, and he never unbuttoned his suit jacket anytime he sat down.
Oh, that drives me crazy.
He's one of my favorite actors.
I think he's
so
great.
good.
I think he's great. But I can't tell you how many like times I'm doing videos with like CEOs and like very powerful, prestigious people, and they'll sit down and like they'll have their jacket buttoned and they look terrible.
It looks bad every time.
I'm like, hey, maybe unbutton it, but keep it close together. Like, don't open it. And they're like, I'm going to leave it buttoned. And then they always message me. They're like, I don't like the way I look in this. I know you don't, because you didn't listen to me.
I don't like your casting couch stories.
Hey, all I have to say is like, if you watch Mad Men, does Don Draper ever leave his button buttoned? No, he fucking doesn't.
No.
And he looks amazing.
He does.
He's evil, but he looks amazing.
Yes.
Do what Don Draper does in this one particular instance, not like, everything else.
WWDDD, baby.
Yeah.
What would Don Draper do?
He dresses so well, you could call him Don Dapper.
Ooh, I
Here's
like
my
it.
question. Do you think this movie would have improved exponentially if instead of Vincent D'Onofrio, it was still Vincent D'Onofrio, but playing his character from Men in Black?
Yeah, wearing the Edgar suit.
Wearing the Edgar suit?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I hate when he sits down, he doesn't unbutton the Edgar suit.
All right, fuck you both. Let's get into this movie. Let's just start it. Let's go through it.
All right. So we open on a baseball game. It's Cubs versus the Sox. And the Sox are losing. No, I'm sorry. The Cubs are losing. The Sox are winning. And Favreau's like gloating because he's the one Sox fan.
Yes.
And Vince Vaughn looks down the row and sees Jennifer Aniston, clearly on a date, by the way.
Oh, yeah. She's out with that guy for sure.
Yeah. And he does this weird thing where he like orders hot dogs and is like trying to pass a hot dog down to her, even though she doesn't want one. It's very awkward. It's very off-putting. Then at the end of the game, they all get up to leave, and he kind of confronts her. She can't get past him, and he pesters her, literally just incessantly, to go out with him. She says no multiple times.
Yeah.
And he will not let her go. He won't let her move past him.
Yeah.
He follows her.
I was going
He's
to say
a
that.
nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. He is a nightmare. I have no problem with him shooting a shot, fine. But he blocks her pathway away from him with his body and won't leave her alone. And for whatever reason, this plays as charming to her, which I found incredibly bonkers.
Well, you see, people usually model relationships they grew up with.
Okay.
And so that really explains this whole movie, is that her parents, not great.
Probably not. But here's my thing. She's clearly on a date.
Yeah.
So, like, shoot your shot, whatever. If somebody's on a date, just be respectful. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And then also, don't physically block women from getting places until they agree to go out with you. That's fucking, like, sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Fuck this dude. That's where this movie starts and expects you to be on his side.
Technically, it's illegal. It's called obstruction of passageway
It is.
and kidnapping.
It's why I almost shut a guy's arm in my car door one time.
Let me tell you about how this scene would have played out with me. I see a beautiful woman, but she's on a date. I see the hot dog guy. I'm like, hey, man, 6 hot dogs. Then I would have ate six hot dogs right there. at
Fuck
that
yeah.
table.
And not have talked to that girl at all.
Yeah. I'd have been like, oh, she's cute, but she's on a date. I'm going to pig the fuck out.
I'm going to eat my feelings.
And
Yes.
I don't care what she thinks because she's with someone. Blah, 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 blah.
Yep. Perfect.
By the way, that sound Mikey made was him actually eating a hot dog.
I fucking love hot dogs.
Well, when they said 6 hot dogs, I was like, damn, hot dogs sound amazing, right?
Yes. Yeah, I love hot dogs.
Then we get into like a montage of them having a relationship together, and I was straight up offended. Like, that's how bad of a foot this movie got off on with me, is that like, oh, so he sexually harassed her and now they're together.
Yeah.
Gross.
What I didn't get is why she didn't just give him a fake number. Like, that's what would have happened in reality. If someone was blocking a woman, she's like, fine, let me give you my number. And then she'd give him the number to like Portillo's so we can eat some more hot dogs, but like not talk to her.
Yeah.
If you're in Chicago, you'll get that joke.
No, I got it.
Portillo's is like one of their hot dog places.
It is. They mentioned another hot dog place in this movie that I've been wanting to go to, but I've never been to Chicago. But,
Portillo's is pretty solid.
also, she is with a dude who he separates the two of them. Like, he actively kind of gets her away from him. I'd be calling for that dude to come over.
Yeah, me too.
To be like, please, this person is bothering me. Please leave.
Yeah.
But the fact that he won't just take her no for an answer shows you that he's got some fucked up notions of boundaries and selfishness and any sort of concept of how anyone else is feeling.
And luckily, we get to see that play out over the course of this movie.
For the course of this movie.
Yeah.
Fucking terrible.
It is terrible.
So we cut back from the credits over a montage of pictures of them together, and he is giving a tour on a tour bus, and it's three brothers tours. So we find out that he owns this tour bus company with his two brothers.
Yeah.
And he gives kind of this like whole spiel. He has this weird aside about the driver previously being a sex worker and your tips keep her off the streets, where I think he's trying to be funny, but I'm like, that would make me a little uncomfortable. Like,
he clearly is joking, and he even mentions that he was one of her clients. Like, it's it's not something you joke about today for sure.
It's probably allowed in Chicago.
It would have made me uncomfortable on the tour today, but also 10 years ago, where I would have been
I just don't understand the point of the tour. Like, is there anything
architecturally significant?
I knew this was going to come up. And yes, Mikey, yes. There is.
I do like the few, because we only really hear two or three
Paige.
facts on the tour. What?
I landed that joke with deep dish pizzazz.
You son of a bitch. It's like the lasagna of pizzazz.
But if you did two jokes in a row, no, we can't get into
And then stacked them, would they
them on
be
top of each
would they
other.
be one deep dish pizzazz or two deep dish?
Pizzazzazazz,
Yes, exactly.
we only get two like facts about Chicago from this tour, like this one and then on the boat. This one
The one on the boat is the metaphor for the entire movie, though.
It is, and I really like that. I think that's an interesting fact, but this one we go past the only building to survive the fire of 1871. That's kind of cool. We cut to Jennifer Aniston working at a gallery, and Justin Long is like the administrative assistant there, and he says happy holidays every time he's on the phone.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I think people like my spirit, and there's always holidays.
I'm just manifesting
It's
a
so
holiday
bonkers.
every day.
Every day.
Don't say manifesting.
I manifested Arbor Day. So he gets home, and it's clear that she's been cooking for like 3 hours. There's stuff all over the kitchen. There's
It looks
pizza.
great. The food looks
It
good.
looks amazing. Yeah. And he drops off a grocery bag with her. We will find out that it only has 3 lemons in it. She wanted 12 for a centerpiece. He only got 3.
Right.
She's upset about that because she asked him to do one thing and he did not do it. And especially because like going to get 3 lemons is the same amount of effort as getting 12 lemons, I think. You're already at the store.
Yeah.
Did she send a text or was it a verbal and he didn't hear? I don't know. Their relationship is very toxic.
He clearly heard because he brought her lemons, just not the right amount of lemons.
As a person who sometimes hears 75% of what's being said to me when I'm not, listening, I could see me making a 3 to 12 lemon mistake or a 12 limes.
Sure.
Honestly, that still would have worked for a centerpiece, though.
It still would have worked for a centerpiece.
Yeah.
I can see myself making this mistake. I have made this mistake before. I think the problem lies in his reaction to it.
Oh, you mean that he didn't apologize and offer to go get more fucking lemons like an actual human being
because that would
should?
have been my first instinct would have been like, I am so sorry I misunderstood or I misheard you.
Yeah.
Although if it's a text, you got no excuse. How can I make this right? Can I run and go get more lemons? What can I do?
But no, what he does is he had already tasted the chicken by this point, and he was like,
Yeah.
the chicken doesn't taste all that great. Just use the lemons on the chicken, and it'll make it taste real good. So he like talks shit about her cooking and then is like not offering an apology or to go get more lemons or anything. He's just an asshole.
Yeah. Because I feel like if he had offered an apology and been like, I am so sorry, I messed up, she would have scrapped the centerpiece anyway and would have been like, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. You go take a shower, help set the table. Like, it would have not been an issue because he would have, people make mistakes.
Yeah, all the time.
But then, so he's not apologizing about it. He could not give 2 shits about her centerpiece. And then she's like, well, regardless, the centerpiece can't happen now. I'm just going to have to live with that. But like, can you go take a shower so that you can greet my parents when they get here? Because I'm probably still going to be cooking. Like, can you change clothes, set up the, table? And this is a dinner they knew was going to happen. It wasn't a surprise. Like, it was on their calendar for today.
Yeah.
She asked like the smallest thing from him, and he's like, no, I want to sit here and watch the game. I don't care how much effort you're putting into this. I don't care about how it plays out. I just want to do this one thing.
Yes.
Which is really disrespectful to just another adult in general if you have an event that you have decided you're going to do together and then you're just like, fuck you.
Oh, yeah. No, it's real shitty, Paige.
Yeah.
I find the best way to be in life in general is to like just own your mistakes.
Yes.
No need to lie about it.
No.
No need to downplay it. And just be like, in my professional life, it's worked well. My personal life, like, hey, I really messed this up. I've made a huge mistake. I screwed up. I am sorry. I feel very bad, but I messed this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and here's the like kicker. You're a grown up and people are coming over. Take a fucking shower. Like, I don't know why this is. She shouldn't even have to ask him these things, is what I would say.
No, but he's a 13-year-old trapped in a 40-year-old's body.
Right.
I'm a morning shower person, so I technically would not need a shower at this point in time unless I went to work out.
That's fine. I would say sometimes I tend to be a night shower person, but like sometimes if I've been at work all day, I feel gross in my clothes.
No, I get that.
And so I might shower earlier than like if I knew people were coming over and I was going to dress up, I would at least go freshen up in some format, shower or otherwise,
Yeah.
and then greet people.
Absolutely. And she does ask him to change too. So like it could have been a both.
Oh,
Yeah.
She does do that. That if she wants him to dress up, then I would probably take a shower.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's like, no, wait till the game's over. And she's like, but they're going to be here in like 20 minutes. And they literally ring the doorbell. They're there early. So now all of her best laid plans are gone because he wouldn't just be a grown up. Anyway, so their families are there for dinner. And there's some talking between them. It's not super interesting. We don't get a huge sense of who they are. The only thing we get is that Vincent D'Onofrio wants to take them to air and sea for their tour bus company,
Yes.
where he wants them to have riverboats and helicopters.
Yeah.
But then her brother, or the person we find out is her brother, who is an a cappella singer, sings like a 6-minute long version of Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Well, 4 of those minutes are just him doing the instrumental part.
Yes, because
Yeah.
like Owner of a Lonely Heart is only like 3 minutes long total. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
I dislike this brother. If
Yeah.
I was ever in a relationship with someone and this is their brother,
I mean, it's intense in this scene. I wouldn't write him off completely as a brother.
I wouldn't write him off as a brother. I'm just saying if you sing at my face, I'll swing at your face.
Mikey, let me just say this. As this brother, I know when I've gone too far and I will back away. He doesn't seem to have that. And I love John Michael Higgins. I think he's fucking hilarious.
Hilarious.
And he's so funny in this scene when he's like giving them all their parts around the dinner table. And then he comes to Vince Vaughn and
Yes.
he's like, come on the bass drum. And then Vince is like, no, I don't.
No.
I don't want any part of this.
It's been requested in the Facebook group a couple times, but people want us to do FU, and we have not done it yet. Have you guys never seen it?
No, I've never heard
I
of
think
it.
the name. No, I'm sorry. That's not the name of the movie. Fuck. It's a cheerleader movie.
Fired up.
Fired Up. Yeah, duh. Fired Up. FU, Fired Up.
Okay.
He's the head coach.
Oh,
And he
nice.
does the same shit where they're like, are you going to teach us the fountain of Troy? And he's like, next I'll teach you to put makeup on a bear. Prohibited avenado. Like he is out to lunch in that movie. And I love it.
He's so good, but he's out to lunch in this movie too. I love that he
Yeah.
gets right in Vince Vaughn's face when he starts singing.
Jazz hands too.
I know for a fact I've done that to Mikey at parties, probably more than once.
Yes, you have.
I've tried to kiss Mikey on the mouth at parties, like he just pushes me away.
I have pictures of that.
Actually, those pictures are in the Facebook group, the Horror Virgin Facebook group, but still.
Yeah. So the dinner party ends somewhat unceremoniously. They
Yeah.
kind of escort people out. And her mom offers to like stay and help her clean up. And Vince Vaughn's like, no, we got it. Bye. And like waves her mom off.
Right.
And knowing that he's not going to clean any of it up, which is
That's
crazy.
the worst part.
Because he really is like, no, we'll take care of it. Cut to him on the couch
Right.
playing Grand Theft Auto, and she's like, I guess I'm going to clean up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's terrible.
And here's the thing. This is where I really take issue with this movie claiming that she is a bad communicator because she calmly asks him 3 or 4 different times. They're like, can you please just help me do the dishes? Then the kitchen will be clean and we can go to bed. It'll only take us 15 minutes because we'll be working together.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah, no. And then she says, I don't like waking up to a dirty kitchen. It would really mean a lot to me if you could help me with this.
And then he literally says, and I may not have the exact words, but it's to the effect of, who cares?
Yeah,
Like,
he says, who cares?
I do. I just said that I care, you asshole. Yeah.
Yes.
I just do not understand how they stayed together this long.
I had no idea. Not
The
a clue.
sex must be amazing.
Doubtful. But she she then is clearly upset. And he's like, I don't understand why you're upset about that. Like, why are you making a big deal about this? And what she says to him is like, this isn't me just asking you to do the dishes. This is me asking you to want to help me, to be an equal partner in this relationship. Like, this isn't about, I don't love doing dishes, but like, we do things that we don't always love to, get through it. Please help me. I did all of this work. Just even say thank you. And he totally writes it off.
Yeah. He's like, why would I want to do dishes?
Yeah.
I mean, I get that no one wants to do dishes, but like, I did everything to get us to this point in the evening. It would be nice if you acknowledge that and then also wanted to chip in a little bit. Not that you want to do dishes like you're jazzed as fuck about doing dishes. I get that no one's jazzed about that, but you might want to contribute to the relationship a little bit, you insufferable asshole.
Yeah.
Well, and then she then continues to make the point. She doesn't just like fine and stomp off. She tries to explain it to him where she's like, this isn't just dishes. This isn't just you helping me with the dishes tonight. This is you not helping and investing in the relationship as a whole. And she brings up the ballet and he's like, I fucking hate the ballet. And she's like, but I don't. And he's like, well, why should I have to go? And it's like, because I want to. Like I am a person you love and we do things together and you don't like 100% of the stuff that we do, but like go to the ballet to humor me because I want to go and would like to be there with a person I love. Like, I don't know why this is confusing for you. And it's literally only his likes and dislikes matter in his world in this relationship.
Yeah, he's incredibly self-centered.
Yeah.
Not just in this relationship.
All of his relationships.
Oh, no. I mean, even in his personal relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, her personal and professional.
Yes.
But she also was like, we don't go anywhere. Like, we don't go on trips. He's like, we just went on a trip. And she's like, to a game you wanted to go to.
She more or less spells it out, although she doesn't say it. But she's like, that's more or less like my ballet. Like, I don't want to go do that. I go do that for you because you want to be there and I want to be with you.
Well, and then he goes into the part that made me damn near scream at the screen because he's like, I'm out there every day working to support us. And I'm like, first of all, you're splitting the mortgage equally, as we will find out in this movie.
Right.
So you'd have to work anyway. So it's not like working was a choice for you. You'd have to, regardless.
And she works a full-time job too.
She works a full-time job too. He's like, to support you so that someday you don't have to work. And she's like, I want to work.
Yeah.
Which means that his view of her in this relationship is that he would prefer that she do nothing but stay home and cater to his whims. And she has no agency in it.
Yeah.
And like, he doesn't see that as a problem. In fact, he wants more of that. He wants her to have less agency in the relationship. Fucking leave, Jennifer Aniston. Walk out that door and never look back.
Yeah. This movie makes no sense. I have a hard time believing, unless there was a change, that they bought this condo and renovated the whole thing. And he did most of the work, as he said.
And didn't murder each other?
Yeah.
And she basically says he says, I just want to be left alone. And she's like, fucking fine. And then she says, do whatever you want. Say whatever you want. Dress however you want. I don't deserve this. I deserve somebody who gives a shit. Bye.
Yeah.
And that should have been the end of the movie. She should have broken up with him. That should have been it. There should have been no will they, won't they of anything. He deserved everything she said to him.
Yes, absolutely. I really thought it was going to be like him immediately realizing he had fucked up, and then the whole movie was him trying to get her back, and would they get back together? And it is not that. And it broke my heart that it wasn't that.
Right. And so we do see her call. He like just leaves the apartment, doesn't talk to her at all, doesn't communicate at all. She calls her friend and is like, this is what happened. And her friend is like, yeah, I think you did the right thing.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I think it's good that you finally stood up for what you wanted, and good for you. Yeah.
And she tells her like, no offense, don't clean the kitchen.
Oh, I love that her friend was like, I'm coming over. I'll be there in 15 minutes. And Jennifer Aniston's like, no, don't come over. I don't want to see anybody. And she's like, no, I don't want you to take this out on the kitchen is what she says, I think.
Yeah. Well, but to her point, I don't want you to give him the thing that he wouldn't help you with because you're upset and that's how you're going to do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, notice how when they're in this breakup phase, the house gets dirty as shit because she's not cleaning it. Yeah.
No. And then at the end of the movie, he cleans the house and it's like the movie wants us to celebrate him for doing the bare fucking minimum.
No.
Fuck him.
Yeah, but that is like why I think this movie thinks that they're equally villains. And I don't really see Jennifer Aniston doing many bad things to him. The only thing that I don't really like that Jennifer Aniston does, she does to other men.
Yeah.
Like the decoy dates, because it's sort of mean to the guys she's decoy dating. But
Right.
I don't think she does anything really bad to Vince Vaughn.
No, not at all.
But he is so butthurt that she broke up with him.
Yeah. He can't fathom how dare she? And
How
I'm like,
dare she break up with me even when I'm a huge asshole?
huge.
I'm gonna save it till we get there. But like, did they really not have a conversation about the bowling team? Like, did they not? Are they not? Well, at that point, she still wanted to get back together with him.
Kinda, yeah. That's the part I hate. I hate so much.
Yeah.
Because like, no.
I wanted her to be firmly, no, it's over. And it was him trying to like, I can change. I'm doing all these things to get better. And then the will they, won't they in it be, are they going to get back together or is she going to hold firm to her, no, we're broken up? But it's not. Like, she reveals pretty early on that she did this as a relationship stunt because she knows he needs to grow in order for the relationship to work. Like, she knows the relationship doesn't work, but she still wants it for some reason. And that bothered me.
I think, and this is just me projecting onto the film.
Sure.
I think sometimes people are more afraid of being alone than being in a bad relationship. And the reality is that being alone can be a very freeing time for growth and it can be good for you.
Yeah.
And being in a bad relationship
Can be even more alone than being alone.
Yes, it can stunt that growth. It can be bad. And so like, I think in some of these cases, and I think in this one particularly, she's like, well, I have to try and make it work somehow so I'm not alone. And it's like, I understand that being alone is a challenge. I was single for a long ass time, but being in a bad relationship is not better than being alone.
I get it though, Paige, because if you looked at her, Jennifer Aniston, I mean, she probably can't get a lot of dates.
Right? Anyway, so she's hoping on the phone that he's going to go out, get drunk, and then come back and apologize.
Yes.
He goes to the bar and he's just like, I can't fucking believe that she broke up with me. And they're like, she's definitely cheating on you. And I'm like, no, like she gave you the exact reasons. Like she told you.
I do love that conversation though, because Jon Favreau is like, he's right 30% of the time and then very wrong the rest of the time.
Get a keylogger.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's like, well, maybe she's just sick of you not focusing on her or whatever. And then he goes, she's definitely cheating on you. We should kill that man. And then you should break into her email with a keylogger and learn all about her. That's what I did with my ex. Or he says something like that. I'm like, oh, this is not a good guy.
He was just nervously bailing out because he gave him too much of the truth. He just said, you're an asshole and you're not good to her. And then his face, he's like, oh shit, he can't take that kind of criticism.
No.
I'm sure she's cheating on you.
Yeah. Well, and then they get into the discussion of like, well, she's clearly going to move out. And the fact that he just assumes that she would move out made me furious.
Oh, yeah, because it's very clearly set up that they both bought that place. It's in both of their names. And he's like, no, she's going to move out. She broke up with me. She's got to move out. And that is not how that works.
That's not how that works. And also, I'm like, as we see, because she stops doing the chores because, hey, I am with her on that one.
Yeah.
Because if it's both your apartment, then both of you do chores.
Well, absolutely, Paige. If it's both of your apartment, both of you guys clean up. But I think it's a combination of she's no longer going to be his maid and he's trying to get her out by being more dirty than he normally was. So like it gets real bad real fast because she's no longer his maid, which she's never been required to be. And he's more of an asshole.
Yeah. Well, and that was the part where when he was like, yeah, she's got to move out. And I'm like, why? She seems to be the only one taking care of the place.
I know.
Like, I think she kind of earned it. Asshole.
I think they should sell it and, split the equity and whatever.
They should sell it.
That's what they should do.
So he is like, she's going to move out. No. We cut to, he comes back to the house. He sleeps on the couch. We cut to the next day. He's at work. And Vincent D'Onofrio is like, hey, I need your tour log.
Yeah.
It'll come up a couple times, but essentially it's just a record of all the tours that he gave. Then we cut to the gallery and her boss basically sends her home to have the day off to be sad.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, I kind of love it. Like,
yeah, mental health day.
Yeah, well, and they paint her boss as kind of evil for a while, but at the end, her boss is actually a real fucking great lady. Like,
I thought she was sort of awesome. I think eccentric, but
Yeah.
awesome.
Eccentric and unpredictable.
Yes.
Yes.
What you want in a boss.
What you want in a boss?
Oof, my
But
goof.
I would say unpredictable ultimately in a good way, where you find out that she really does care about Jennifer Aniston.
Right. Not Justin Long so much, but she clearly has a favorite on her employment staff. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Who would you pick? The one that sells things or the one that says Happy Holidays in May?
I do love Christmas.
I do at Christmas. Anyway, so she goes home and she comes home to loud music and a pool table, which I guess we forgot to bring up at the dinner party. He wants a pool table. There's no room for a pool table in the apartment. And she basically is like, when we get a bigger place, we can have a pool table. So it's not no to the pool table in general. It's like, hey, there's not a feasible way to have this right now.
Right.
But he throws a big hissy fit like a giant 13-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the answer isn't a no, it's a not now.
It's a not now.
Yeah.
Like there are things that Jake and I want that we can't have right now because there's no room. Like
Like a pool table.
a pool table. I would actually love to have a pool table.
Same.
I'm really
And
bad at pool, but I
was about to
enjoy
say
it.
the same thing. I'm like, I suck at pool, but I love playing it.
I like doing
Yeah.
it.
I just like playing with sticks and Never mind. Let's move on.
I'm surprised you didn't like Magic Mike XXL more.
I am not going to get slapped and slipped.
Slip and slept. She comes home, loud music, and he's gotten rid of a bunch of her furniture in favor of a pool table in the dining room.
Oh, I was going to say, he got rid of the table they were at
Yeah.
that dinner so they could put that pool table up.
And mind you, I would be fucking furious.
Yeah.
If this, I would be mad. And he's like, well, it's my place and you wouldn't let me have a pool table. And so now like this area is my area. That area is your area.
Right.
And the fact that he's basically taken over the two common areas of the house.
He even says the room with the pool table is a common area.
Right. But it has his one giant
Right.
possession in it.
Exactly.
Like if it's truly common area, that pool table should be in his air quotes bedroom, which is the living room.
Which is why I wanted her to make him put it in there and then him sleep on it.
That would have been funny.
They're so bad at communicating.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Breaking up together because they should have talked about who sleeps where should we move things, and they don't.
I feel like Jennifer Aniston gets some stuff dictated to her because when she
Yeah.
comes home in this scene, she's like talking to him and he's like, you can stay in the bedroom. I'll stay out here. Like he's the one like, sort of setting the ground rules.
Well, and I feel like that conversation could have happened if he didn't just fucking leave. Like he walked out of the conversation where that would happen.
Oh yeah, but you can still have that conversation.
I mean, you can't if somebody won't have it with you.
100%.
We can call it bad communication all we want, but there's one person that's aggressively not communicating and another person that's clearly trying.
Yeah. Like Vince Vaughn is very much dictating terms and she is like attempting to have a conversation.
Yeah. So she ends up calling her friend and her friend is like, well, I guess he's trying to test boundaries. But again, that's something a child does.
Yeah.
And so she goes into her room, blasts Alanis Morissette, and tosses all of his shit out of her bedroom. And I'm going to call that fair.
Yeah.
I love this scene because Jon Favreau and Jason Bateman are playing pool with him when this is going on. And like, so Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill comes on it's You Ought to Know comes on
Yeah, it's You Ought to Know.
off the Jagged Little Pill album. Anyway, so
Yes.
she's throwing his stuff into the hallway from the room and they're just both like, yeah, I'm going to get the fuck out of here. Like Jon Favreau and Jason Bateman bone out immediately.
Hot take
Yeah,
though.
sure.
She's finally gotten enough of this. She should have just been like, we're putting this place up for sale. We can't even talk about how we're going to do this breakup. You're being a child about it. We're over.
Yeah.
I'm taking my stuff and I'm leaving until we sell the place because I just can't deal with this. Them both deciding to stay in a toxic environment is both of them making that choice. One of them has to leave.
It is bad, but I also understand the feeling of, fuck you, why should I be the one who has to leave?
I agree.
I get that, but that just that is a very emotional choice.
It is something that you should concede. Yeah, like you should go stay with a friend for your own sanity. But
Her winning in this situation is emotional peace.
yes.
And you will never have that by one-upping a toxic person.
Yeah.
Right.
You will only have that by removing yourself and that person from your life. So like when they start like when the point of the movie where they start trying to one-up each other and it tries to make her a villain,
Yeah.
that's like, girl, make a healthy choice and just cut it off.
Yeah.
Block and move on. Have the real estate agent cut you the check.
Yep.
Don't talk to him again.
Yeah. Well, and I really hated that she ends up talking to her friend after this, and her friend is like, what you did is childish. And I'm like, I get that she should be in a different environment. She shouldn't stay there. But he just dictated where she's allowed to live in her own home. And so her removing his possessions from that room to me seems justified and fair.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to tell me where I'm going to live in my own house, then I'm going to tell your stuff where it can fucking go.
Or at least it can't be in my space. The space that you told me you wanted me to stay in.
Yep.
I had no problem with what she does here. And the Jagged Little Pill album slaps top to down. It's a great album.
Yeah, front to down, Jagged Little Pill is amazing. I also think it's weird because we go into the next bowling scene and he is like, oh, I found my shirt. Thanks for laying it out. That they're treating her throwing his clothes into the hallway the same as him getting rid of her furniture and replacing it with a pool table so that she now cannot use 2 different rooms of her house. Like, the fact that they equate those in the movie is bonkers to me. Like, fucking nuts.
She was saving him time by getting his clothes out of her room, and that was deemed as bad as getting rid of a dining room set, Paige.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate it so much. I hate this movie.
This movie just shouldn't happen. Like I said,
It shouldn't happen.
You cannot out toxic a toxic person. They will just drag you down.
No, and you shouldn't try.
It's like that saying, a drowning man drowns people, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, that's what Vince Vaughn is doing this whole movie. Although I will say, about around this time period, I do think it was much more acceptable for a guy to not be on the same level as his girlfriend. I feel like that was more socially acceptable than it is now.
You mean by not participating in a relationship?
By not participating as much. Like, I think...
It doesn't make it okay.
No, I think it's terrible. I mean, so like, it's clear that she does more around the house than him. They both have full-time jobs. Like, I feel like that sort of stuff was more socially acceptable in the mid-2000s than it is today.
Well, and I feel like that's variable too, because I mean, finances come into it too. And maybe like he's covering everything financial. And so there's some, you know, difference in how things get divvied up, but you can't do nothing, you know, like you got to do something.
See, I don't know. For me, it's a matter of time. Like if they're both working 40 hours a week, then you should both be sort of splitting the housework equally.
Yeah.
I don't think just because men typically make more than women should be doing more of the housework.
No, that's not what I mean.
Okay.
But I'm like, if somebody's working like 60 hours a week and bringing in most of the money, then that changes how things work.
Completely agree. Completely agree with that. But like if they're both working 40.
That's not what we're getting.
Right, exactly.
That's not what we're getting in this movie.
Like I honestly don't care what either of them make. If they both work the same amount of time, they should both be doing the same around the house.
Right.
Yeah. But again, I do feel like 20 years ago or 15 years ago when this movie came out, it was more socially acceptable or seen as like, well, that's the woman's work anyway. He shouldn't be doing that. He should be sitting on the couch drinking a beer, waiting for her family to come over for dinner. And that's fucking gross. But I do feel like that's more what the socially acceptable thing was back then.
Right. I also was raised in a house where my parents both worked full time. They still do both work full time.
Yeah.
But like, you know, it's not unusual to see my dad folding laundry and doing dishes and whatever and crushing cans for the recycling and shit.
Oh, I just want to see your dad just with one of those things that you put the can in and it goes.
I bought him one for Christmas.
I love it. I love it. My dad had one of those too. And like watching him like sort of enjoy it. Like it's sort of fun to have like a can crusher. Yeah. It's like an old man thing in my mind because I used to watch my dad do it all the time.
Crushing anything is fun.
Yeah.
Well, he was doing it with his like foot and it was driving me crazy every time I would go stay there.
Exactly what my dad was doing until he got one of those things.
And so for Christmas, I bought him one and he was like loving it.
Yeah.
And I was like, good choice, me.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was like a wall mounted one too. He's getting serious about it.
Yeah, my dad's a small mountain. I love that like that is not like just my experience. Like that's like a
No, I think that's a universal dad thing.
Man, I can't wait till I get to the point in my life where I need a wall-mounted can crusher.
I mean, I am looking forward into the future where I'm hoping in my future there's a garage fridge and a can crusher.
Yes.
Like that's what I want, man. I want it.
That is success, Paige.
I'd settle for a garage in general. Like, start there. Anyway, so they go to their bowling team day event bowling. They go bowling.
Yeah.
But they're on a team.
They have a bowling league. Yeah, and they're on a team.
Yeah.
They're on a couples team. And since they're no longer a couple, she kind of weaponizes their friends against him.
A little bit,
This is not super nice, but at the same time, fuck him.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, whatever. So they kind of vote him out and they take his shirt, which was like, that's unnecessary.
I loved it though. This is one of those parts that I actually thought was sort of funny because he has to take off his shirt and he is a level of petty I can respect. He's like, well, that's my wrist guard. So give me my wrist guard back. Hope you snap your wrist. But I mean, he is also shirtless walking to his car holding a wrist guard. And that to me was funny.
And he turns to the other guys there and he just says, Band of Brothers, you should rent it sometime. Which is nonsense, but...
It is nonsense, but honestly, fully agree. Because it's great.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Band of Brothers
Just stream
is solid.
it. Come on.
Yeah. It's on
Yeah,
HBO.
stream it.
Just stream it. It's so good.
Yeah. So as he leaves, this is where she has her little speech of like, he's really hurt right now. He's going to get drunk, make a fool of himself and apologize and everything's going to be fine. And I'm like, girlfriend, no.
So that is what made me think that this is a cycle for them that they've been through before.
I think
right?
so.
So like, I feel like they've been through this sort of exact thing and he is just... I don't know, more of an asshole than he normally is. So he doesn't do what she expects.
Or she allows him to come back into the relationship without any demonstration of change.
It's a toxic cycle.
Yeah.
It's systemic.
Yeah. I have been in an on again, off again relationship because of both of us, honestly. And it was like terrible. I'm so glad I'm in a much more stable place right now. But yeah, I've been in relationships like that and they're the worst.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, and this is just me as a lady, I don't think Vince Vaughn's throwing it down that good. I don't believe it.
I'm sure he's not, Paige.
I think he's too lazy.
I agree.
I don't know the real Vince Vaughn.
No, I think she means the character in the movie.
Yeah, I mean
right?
the character in this movie.
Yeah.
The character in this movie is definitely not throwing it down. If he's this lazy in life,
Yeah.
If he won't shower for company, he's probably not going to adequately prepare the space. Let's just say it that way.
you got to work hard in a lot of different areas in a relationship to make it work. And I find it hard to believe that if he's not working hard at work, he's not working hard in his relationship, that he's working hard in the bedroom.
Yeah, I doubt it. And he makes a comment about like foreplay at one point, and she's just like, it was one time. And I'm just like, oh, no.
Yeah, that's in the initial fight. That's the very first fight.
Yeah, that's the very first fight.
And he's using that to be like, well, I shouldn't do the dishes because I went down on you this morning.
Because I went down
It's
on you. And I'm
so
like,
stupid. Yeah.
Unless you negotiate that in a very open communication fashion that's healthy.
Sure. And if that's what you and your partner decide, that's great. But if you're going to throw that in my face like it's a chore, then I'll tell you where you can go down. And it's the stairs out of this apartment. So like.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
But Mikey, if your girlfriend was like, well, if you do the dishes, I'll go down on you, I would always do the dishes.
Yeah.
As long as she says that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's like the deal, I'm like, oh, that's the easiest yes you'll ever get out of me.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Think about that. I mean, that's very motivating for a lot of people, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a fun way to do chores. But you know what?
I don't think it should be at the same time.
Okay, wait, hold on. We've got to talk. We've got to talk about the line. A lot of people's favorite line in this movie is, I want you to want to do the dishes. And that's like their favorite line of the movie.
But I feel like that's just a misnomer. Does that make sense? No one wants to do the dishes. Nobody does. But I want you to participate in this relationship. I want you to want to participate in this relationship is what she's saying.
But I think a lot of people took it literally like, household chores are chores. And like, you're going to have conversations about it. People sometimes don't do them. I am not great at division of labor without clear and good communication. And
Same.
I'm sorry that I'm not that kind of person.
I'm good at some things and not other things.
Exactly. And that's been a struggle in past relationships. And I don't like doing the dishes, but I don't like, some days I have a hard day and I don't like doing anything, but like we have to communicate about it. And if you don't communicate it and you hold resentment inside and I don't know it, that's also not fair to me.
Yeah.
Not to make this about me.
Jennifer Aniston's point with that, I want you to want to do the dishes, is not that she wants him to want to do dishes. It's that she wants him to be an active member in their relationship, and he clearly is not.
Right.
Oh, yeah. But the people who use that quote really just want you to want to do the dishes.
Mikey, I think they want you to be an active member of the relationship.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is under any illusion that people want to do dishes.
Yeah.
I've never met a person who loved doing it.
No, but they're talking about having someone without communicating do the chores and like that division of labor happening without the communication.
It's called emotional labor.
Yeah.
And it's usually put on the femme presenting or female person in the relationship because of heteronormative bullshit.
Right.
Just saying, I need a clear conversation about it. I'm not just going to do everything without talking about it.
No, for sure.
But I don't expect the other person to either.
There
is what
it
I'm
is.
saying.
Because that's the thing. It's like oftentimes when people are like, I need clear direction to do something, it's not just that they need clear direction. It's that they're expecting it all to get done. And if they don't get the clear direction and it still doesn't get done, they're going to be upset that it doesn't get done. But the
Right.
reality is, one person should not be in charge in the relationship of deciding who does what all the time. That's exhausting.
It's a relationship. It's two ways.
Right.
I would do really well with like a chore wheel, and I know that's like childish, but like I'm
Hey,
just not
if it
good
works.
at that. That's a struggle area for me.
Some people have like a dry erase board and they'll put like, daily chores or whatever and they'll split them up. Like that works too. I'll be honest with you. Like there's a lot of times when Natalie and I get super busy and the house sort of gets a mess and she'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, the house is such a mess. And I'm like, I'll always say like, there's no reason that's your job. Like,
Right.
I live here
Right.
too. I'm also responsible for how the house looks. So like,
Yeah.
And then if you're in a relationship with me, you know that my house looks bad when I'm working very long. Like this week has been exhausting. My house is messier than normal. I'll clean it this weekend when I have days off, but it's like, like I don't have time.
Yeah.
Or I'm so exhausted when I get home. It's like, I just don't have time to clean or the energy. I'm just exhausted.
Same, Mikey.
Jake will do something where he's like, hey, I kind of want to clean the house this weekend. Like, I want to do a big, deep clean. Here are the few things that I need from you to help me make this happen. Because I know you're working, but like, here, if you can do these 3 things, that would help me a lot.
Yeah.
Great. Happy to do that. Or like, hey, if you make amazing chicken soup, I will do the dishes. Like,
Yeah.
Those conversations got to happen.
Yeah.
But also, he is an adult in in that relationship. So he can't just be relying on her to be the only one managing both the communication and the chores.
Yeah. Vince Vaughn's an asshole in this movie.
Right. Anyway, so he goes to a club with his younger brother, which they never address it, but his younger brother's name is Lupus.
I'm sorry, is it? It's Lupus?
Yes, Lupus Kowarski. And if you pause it on Amazon, it'll show the name. And they just call him LG. But his name is Lupus.
Why?
It's weird.
That's a weird choice.
Also, his brother is probably a serial killer because he goes and like hits on that woman next to him at the bar, and he's like, "Why don't we go back to my place, get naked? I'll wrap you in cellophane." And I was like,
Yeah,
"What
I'll
is
cut a
Oh my
hole so
God.
you can breathe, and then one by your asshole. And I was like, holy shit, call CSI.
Yeah.
Like, it was just, not
Which,
good.
I'm not going to kink shame, but you don't lead with that. You
No,
lead
no.
with, "Can I buy you a drink?" or something that's more socially acceptable than like,
That's a conversation that you have on FetLife with someone who has already expressed that they are also into saran wrap in a sexual way.
into saran play.
Into saran play. into like a leftover kink.
Ooh, yeah. Now put me in the fridge and forget about me.
Oh, yes.
Call me Meatloaf.
Dude, Gerald's Fridge is a weird movie. Like Gerald's Game, Mikey?
Yeah, I got it.
Forgotten about. Well, not forgotten about. But anyway. So we cut back to the apartment the next day, and this is where he's like, well, you're moving out. And she's like, I'm not fucking moving out. And they get into an argument where he basically shames a bunch of her family members, where he's just like talking shit on everyone she's related to, unrelated to the problem that they're having at the time.
Yeah.
And reveals that he hates her brother, but also her sister and her grandfather. It's like a whole thing. So we cut to the next morning because he has claimed that he's just going to sleep the fuck in.
Yeah.
And the next morning, she has allowed her brother's a cappella group to practice in her bedroom because that's her bedroom.
Yeah.
That's her area. And it wakes him up to them singing.
I love this scene because, again, I am a huge fan of John Michael Higgins. And like the barbershop quartet or whatever, like the a cappella group is doing the most in this scene. Like they're all super into it.
Have you met an a cappella group that's not like super
little
into
off?
it?
Yeah, no,
Never.
they're all awesome. And we should be very happy that a world exists where a cappella exists.
Ooh,
But
I don't know about that.
I love that they are just in it.
I do like that Todd interpreted your comment that way.
Yeah, I don't know about this at all.
Paige, I knew what he meant. I just made it what I wanted it to be.
I know. I love it. And they're the Tone Rangers is their name.
Oh my God. Such a bad name. But they're all bad names. That's the fun.
Yeah. His argument is that he can hear them from his room and their sound shouldn't be in his space. And I'm like, well, you were playing loud video games and loud music that she could hear
Yep. At like 2 a.m, right?
at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And so I don't see how you think you are exempt. Like, I don't understand, you know? He goes in to confront them and he tries to steal their pitch pipe, which, like, don't.
Oh my God, I love this.
And he just immediately kicks his ass.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
doesn't even play.
John Michael Higgins goes from singing in an a cappella group to throat punching Vince Vaughn in like 2 seconds. It's amazing.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's great. And when she comes home, he's like, no, they attacked me when I was half asleep. And she's like, no, they were in my room. So why'd you go in my room? You know? And he really acts wounded and hurt by this. He is mad that she plays by the same rules he does because he's a toxic asshole and she should leave. But like, he sees himself as better than her, clearly, throughout this entire thing.
Yeah.
And exempt from the situation.
Yeah, I think he sees himself as better than everyone.
Yeah.
Or at least as more important than everyone.
Yep. They know that night's game night and they're supposed to host, and he refuses to cancel because she's like, why don't we cancel it? He refuses.
Right.
And he says, no, I honor my commitments.
Ugh.
And then as soon as he starts prepping for game night, he's like, there's no food in here. What are they supposed to eat? And I'm like, she's not the food fairy, man.
Yeah. Go get your own food, you asshole.
And she just says, figure it out. I hate it. Well, and I'm like, dude, you're a grown up. Order fucking Wingstop. Like, can you not even do that? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, he ends up just having bologna and Kraft singles out. And I'm like,
yeah.
Just cancel game night. Like,
Cancel
who gives a fuck what he
night.
thinks? Call your
Or-
friends and be like, don't come over. This is a toxic environment.
Or order 10 wings from Wingstop and everyone can have plenty.
oh, God, order
Oh,
pizza. And
why
everyone
you
have
gotta
one
make me so
fucking
mad?
slice, you skinny bitch.
Yeah. I eat one slice of pizza. That's the CDC recommends one slice of pizza.
We're never having game night at Todd's. Only game
No.
night at Mikey's.
Yeah, of course.
Because at Mikey's house, until I put that red paper down, they just deliver me wings.
They keep coming with that charcuterie board.
I
Yep.
have, instead of like a ADS like security system, it's just Uber Eats on the wall. You just keep clicking.
Bring me wings.
One pizza per person. A personal, not pan pizza, just a personal pizza.
I'm here for it. Here for it. I read all of my Scholastic books and I am here for it. So everyone arrives. There's no food. And they are clearly being openly hostile to each other.
Yeah.
He tries to vote her out of game night. He loses. And he's like not letting her eat snacks and stuff. And they play Pictionary, and he is borderline abusive to her during this Pictionary game. So all their friends get uncomfortable and leave, with the exception of their realtor, who is basically just like, so clearly we need to sell this house. Like, this is
Right? Because you're going to burn it down if we don't. I did like sort of feel very bad for Jennifer Aniston during the Pictionary thing because she's drawing what we find it as a sock. And it looks
Yeah.
sort of shoe
It looks like a stocking.
Right?
Yeah, kind of.
He keeps yelling shoe over and over and over and then like
Yeah.
makes it her fault he didn't guess something that also looks sort of like a shoe. Like if it's not a shoe, guess something else, you moron.
Yeah, why would you keep guessing the same thing if you know that's not the answer?
That drove me insane that he kept yelling shoe at her.
Everyone else is wrong, and he is the only one that's right.
Right.
Like, in his world.
He's a narcissist.
Yeah.
He's a narcissist.
This is just the terribleness.
Yes.
What I hate is that they do not talk about selling the house until the realtor's like, I'm going to sell this house.
Yeah, it never came out. Neither one of them was willing to let it go. But then once they start talking to the realtor, he's like, no, I should keep it because I did all this work on it. And she's like, I also did work. And we know that she did because we saw pictures of it before.
Yeah.
And he's like, you paint it. And it's like, dude,
Painting is still work.
painting sucks, man. Like,
Yeah.
my husband does carpentry and flooring and all kinds of shit, and he hates painting. It's like one of the worst. Anyway, he says that realistically speaking, neither of you can afford the mortgage on your condo. I have fun facts on that later on.
Nice.
So he says that they should sell. And he says that normally I wouldn't take a commission, but I can't. I have to.
I love
Like,
that. And Jason Bateman's so good at like that understated sort of humor, and he's just crushing it here with it. He's like, I would forego the commission because we're so close, but like it's an office,
Right.
It's like an office policy. I can't not, but I would,
Right.
but I'm not allowed to. I just love that
Right.
so much.
So they give him a set of keys, and he basically says, people really want the condos in this building. It'll move quickly. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
So we cut to the next day. She goes to work, and Justin Long is trying to cheer her up with hand puppets. And the owner of the gallery comes in and is just like, hey, I gave you a day to be sad. Why are you still sad? And she's like, I'm sorry. Here's what's going on. I assume that you have encountered men and know how to handle them. What do I fucking do? And she gives her terrible advice.
Yes, but I do love that she plays into her vanity here. She's like, clearly you've been successful with men, so let me tell you what's going on in my life so you then take an interest in it and don't fire me, and maybe I'll implement your advice, which she does implement this terrible advice.
Yes, she does. She sends her to a spa, and specifically a waxing spa, and says to ask for the Telly Savalas compliments of M. Dean, which is her.
Yeah.
Now, Telly Savalas is Jennifer Aniston's godfather.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, really?
And he is very bald. Yes. Kojak.
Oh, that's Kojak?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I get
It
the
came
reference.
up on Righteous Gemstones the other day. That's the only reason I know.
Well, now I get that reference. Okay. Because she gets like a Brazilian.
She gets a Brazilian.
Yeah.
And her advice is basically like, show him the immaculate canvas and another man eager to paint it.
Yeah.
Which is like art speak for like, make him jealous with your bald pussy and a boyfriend.
Or at least a gentleman caller.
Or at least a gentleman caller.
Yeah.
So she gets a bikini wax. She walks through the house naked. And he's clearly just staring at her. He loses the video game. Then she walks back to her room.
Jennifer Aniston's walking around naked. When Natalie's walking around naked, I can't focus on anything else.
There you go.
But that's just because you're like, oh, no layers. Ugh.
What is that, bear skin? Here, take a blanket, a coat, 2 other coats, and some boots.
I would never try and tell Natalie to put more on. Just going to say that right
Because she's already wearing 4 layers? Got it.
now. No, she is not a layerist like I am, but she supports my spiritual beliefs, though, so I appreciate that.
You're never neutery?
No, I'm a layerist. We're different.
A layerist, different.
Yeah.
Kind of like Mennonites and Amish.
Right.
Got it.
A lot like, we're similar to Never Nudes, except we're tax exempt.
Right.
It's different.
Oh.
Guys, side note, I want to talk to you about setting up a tax exempt business for the podcast.
No, dude.
We just have to say we're layerists, and then we can say it's a religion, and then we're good. No taxes.
I don't want to do this.
I have a moral issue with this.
They would know because I'm not going to wear those layers.
Mikey, clearly I could be teaching you.
I have some conflicting beliefs about all tax exemptions. So,
Oh, yeah. But if they're going to give us the loophole, let's take it.
eh. Anyway, the doorbell rings and her date is there, and it is the younger brother from Wedding Crashers with a goatee.
That's so funny. I didn't realize that.
And so he goes to pick her up, and Vince Vaughn is like, apple martinis, just 2, 3, she gets sloppy, you'd have to babysit her. Which is really kind of like gross that he's just like, oh, if you want to fuck her, just get her drunk. It's real. I hated it a lot.
Toxic. It's all
it's terrible.
abusive.
Super toxic and abusive.
Terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
But under a lens of a romantic comedy.
He watched her go out to her car. We cut to their date, and he's actively trying to order her apple martinis, even though she's like, just a water, please. And she answers her phone. It's clearly her friend who she is primed to call during this date, just in case it's going bad. And he keeps repeating the phrase, in the biz.
Well, and that biz is taxes. Like, he's a CPA.
He's an accountant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's clearly an accountant. He's like, after April, in the biz, we call it party time.
And from February to April, we call that crunch time or whatever.
Yeah, crunch time.
I love that she's actually saying, oh, that's super fascinating.
It's super fascinating. It's sexual and violent. So
I don't think that gets said.
that's what he says about the painting in Wedding
okay.
Crasher.
Yeah. Okay.
I made a painting of you. It's sexual and violent. So she gets out of the date. We cut to the next day at work where Vince Vaughn is now talking to his brothers, Vincent D'Onofrio and the serial killer. And Vincent D'Onofrio is like, hey, idiot, that's an asset that we could use as collateral to get the boats and the helicopters. We should be trying to figure something out instead of making impulsive decisions.
Right.
But he doesn't give a shit because Vince Vaughn is selfish.
Yes, he is.
And Vincent D'Onofrio gives him some really good advice of like, hey, the money you have paid towards this condo is equity in your mortgage instead of just throwing money away on rent. This is a bad financial decision. Let's find a way to work it out. But he's not listening to him at all. And he basically just says, and also I need the damn tour logs. I need them for our books, for our taxes.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you have the receipts. You can just do it. And he's like, yeah, I can. But I also have a family and free time that I want to utilize and spend on something that's not your job.
Yeah.
And Vince Vaughn is like, well, I'm the talent, so fuck you. And I was like, fuck him to death. Any number of people could drive a tour bus. Like,
He's not even driving it, Paige.
he's just doing the tour.
Yeah, he's doing the tour stuff. But I will admit, one person on this podcast has routinely used that as an excuse. I'm the talent.
I don't know what you're talking about. As the talent,
There are a lot of stand-up comics in Los Angeles that have that job. They like specifically hire comics to do it. So
That makes
there's,
sense.
I'm sure Chicago has fucking plenty of those. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, fuck you, Vince Vaughn. You replaceable as fuck.
Yeah. Second City's there. They've got an Upright Citizens Brigade there. Like, they're
There's
definitely
a huge
flush
stand-up scene there.
with
They could
amazing
have-
stand-up and improv people in Chicago.
They could find somebody like immediately.
Yeah.
It would not be difficult.
The only reason he's not replaceable is because he's one of the three brothers.
Right. But you could find a schlubby white guy that looks like he might be a brother.
Yeah.
No one will question it.
Who's gonna know?
Nobody.
Also, do they only have 3 buses? Like, what are we talking about?
I know. So he's back home playing video games versus kids on a headset. And he's just like, your mom won't love you.
Okay. I did sort of love this because,
yes, I've also done this.
yeah, I have fully destroyed children. And I never did this unless they were like really offensive, because I've
Yeah.
heard like 15-year-olds call me some of the worst shit you can imagine.
Yeah.
And I've let loose a little more than I probably should have on those people specifically. Mm-hmm. Vince gives them both barrels, and I was here for it.
Yep. So meanwhile, another date shows up, and it's a guy that she met at the gallery who kind of like seemed to be vibing with her. And he's hot.
Yeah.
Like that other guy is choice.
Yeah, well, the first date was clearly not someone who Jennifer Aniston would actually be into. And I think that's
Yeah.
why Vince Vaughn was like, 2 apple martinis will get the trick done, right? Because he
Yeah.
wanted to point out to her that he knows what's going on here. But she picked
Right.
this guy because he is more attractive than Vince Vaughn, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he would be more of a threat. Like, that specifically is what she's looking for.
Yeah, but they end up playing video games together, and he and Vince Vaughn bro out. And then she's ready to leave, and the guy's like, can we just play through the next game? And I'm just like, kick him out. Like,
I would have been like, yes, you can, but this date's not happening now. Goodbye.
yeah, this date is now over. Bye.
And look at me in this dress or whatever she was wearing, and then make your
Yeah.
decision as to what you want to do. And there's no man that would be like, yeah, I'm going to play with Vince Vaughn. That's what I'm going to do.
You'd be surprised.
Ugh. They're the worst.
Yeah.
The worst.
Yeah.
Here's what I don't get. I refuse to believe that Vince Vaughn is any level of famous in Chicago, because as like they're driving away to the restaurant, this guy will not shut up about him because he is a
Right.
known tour guide. That's not a thing.
No, I don't think so.
Especially because that guy lives in Chicago. You know who
Yeah.
doesn't take Chicago tours?
People who live
Chicagoans.
there.
Anyone.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if they had seafood and something architecturally significant. But like,
I love Chicago.
I did really object to one of the pictures they had in the montage in the beginning where she is picking up and eating a piece of Chicago style pizza, like a regular slice of pizza. And I'm like, bitch, what you doing? Use a fork.
Oh, you got to fork and
Use a
knife that
fork.
stuff. Yeah, it's too much. Yeah.
Anyway,
That's how you get cheese like slopping all over you.
I mean, I volunteer as tribute to have the cheese slop all over me.
Todd, what do you eat when it comes to deep dish? Like 2, 4 bites?
I don't know, man. I can't eat as many slices as I do of normal pizza because it is
Which is
just
one.
so
Which
much
is
bigger.
one.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
One.
what
No, I know.
percentage of a slice can you eat of Chicago deep dish?
I usually like to order a personal one and eat it from like the center outward, like a crazy person.
Every Saturday night, I go to my friend's house. We watch Drag Race and order pizza. We get like extra larges, and I have 4 slices of that extra large. So like that's normal pizza. I can probably have 1.5 of deep dish pizza.
No one who only eats 8 out of 10 wings eats 4 slices of pizza.
I mean, they're smallish slices.
I'm also going to assume you don't eat the crust.
I hate crust. No, I don't.
100%. I knew it, Paige.
I'm going to need to remove myself because this situation is now toxic. And I don't want to try and out-toxic a 4-slicer.
Wow. You're going to call me a 4-slicer like it's a bad thing?
Sounds more like 2 slicers, by the way.
If you don't like crust, why don't you just order thin crust?
I actually do love thin crust.
Of course he likes thin crust, Paige. He's
It's
a
less
skinny,
pizza.
thin bitch.
I feel like some places do it either great or terrible,
Yeah.
and it's always a crapshoot as to what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to this movie. She's like, I know a great little martini bar, basically like, I'm a fuck. Like,
Yeah.
watch me. But then they get in the car and he won't stop talking about Gary, so she gets out. But because she leaves, Vince Vaughn is like, call my serial killer brother. We're playing strip poker, and basically turns the apartment into basically an orgy, essentially.
Yeah, so they're playing strip poker where not like if you lose all your money, you have to get naked. Like you ante up with clothing, right?
Right. If you want to go all in, you got to go naked.
Exactly, right? So, yeah, by the time she gets back, women are topless dancing in that front room. Like, that's what's
Yeah.
going on when she gets there.
It looks like a strip club.
It does.
Yeah.
Because there's that disco ball, right?
Yeah.
And she walks in and, like, they lock eyes, and he is looking at her like he's a serial killer.
Who are
Yeah.
these full-grown adults who can just call someone to play strip poker?
I feel like they were hired for the evening, Mikey.
Okay, that's what I think.
That was the impression I got. Although I will say, I feel like within an hour or two, I could put this together, but I couldn't guarantee that they'd be good looking.
I don't think there's anyone I could call.
Mikey, you can always call me.
Oh, so we can play strip poker for 18 hours? I mean, Jesus, Todd. You have more layers than money.
They had an 8-layer cap. So, like, I would abide by that rule.
No, they had an 8-article cap. Very different.
Very different than 8 layers.
I show up with 8 T-shirts on, nothing else.
Winnie the Pooh in it.
Yeah.
God.
Anyway, so he's like drinking out of a bottle. It's not great. So she finds out that the condo is going to sell. And my first thought was, oh, she's going to have to clean all this shit up so the condo can sell. But thankfully, that's not what happens.
No.
But she leaves him the note. They have to be out in 2 weeks. So we cut to her job where she is like, she gets hit on. She tells the guy she has a boyfriend and they're like, what the fuck? And she's like, no, I think I know what I have to do. So she goes home, talks to him about the note about 2 weeks. And then she's like, hey, I got these tickets if you want to go. And I think she bought them that day. I don't think she had them. I think this is a weird last ditch effort for her to try and make shit work.
Yeah, we don't see her buy them, but that's a fair reading. I mean, she does get like, that guy doesn't just hit on her. Like he asks her out at her job, right?
And she says no.
Yeah, and I think because her reaction was still, no, I have a boyfriend, that's what sort of triggers her, okay, I still have feelings, I still should work at this. She fully should not. But I do think that that's when she goes to get those tickets and is like trying to like make it work in that moment, which
Right.
don't do that. Just break up with
No.
Yeah.
Let's take this slice of the movie, remove it from the rest of the movie. Like, just
Yeah.
look at this without any context.
Okay.
If you're going to be in the situation where you're breaking up, say they're not toxic, and you're buying tickets but not explaining why and the purpose, also not helpful. So, like, you're going to have to explain to that person, I had this feeling when this happened. I want
Yes.
to make this work. I've got concert tickets. Let's see if we can make this work. None of that's communicated.
Right.
But in context of the movie, it doesn't matter because he's an abusive, toxic asshole. But all this does is show like unhealthy habits that everyone can have.
Can I say that I've actually been in a situation like this?
Oh, no.
No. Like where I had tickets for like, or no, I can't remember if I had the tickets or he had the tickets. But it was a friend of mine broke up with her boyfriend and then immediately moved away. She had like a change in life. It's not important to the story. But so we suddenly had tickets to No Doubt's reunion tour.
Oh, my God. Yes.
Yeah, so we went together and had a great time. Like, not romantic or anything. We just like hung out at that concert. And it felt really good to be like, I know this was supposed to be a thing for her and you to be here, but like, I'm having a good time, man. Do you want another hot dog? Like, let's do it.
Yeah, let's
and it
get
was
6.
kind of great. It was like a way to kind of close a chapter, I guess. But like, That's not what she does. It is not how it goes for them. So,
Right.
yeah. She should have taken her friend if she actually did have those tickets
Yeah.
ahead of time. Anyway, so she orders beers for both of them, finds their seats. And at this point, I looked at the movie and I was like, how are there 30 minutes left of this movie? Like,
know,
nothing
Paige.
is, like, what is happening?
I know.
He never shows up. He stands her up for the tickets.
I was so mad because she should not be olive branching anything in this relationship. And she
Right.
is. She's making the effort and he still doesn't show up for her.
Well, and if he didn't want to go, he should have just said no or
Right.
texted
Yes.
her or something.
They both need to talk.
Agreed.
Right. So he comes back to the apartment after she's come home and she's super upset that he stood her up, essentially.
She's literally like weeping in her room.
Yeah. Well, and she's weeping and he's like, I planned on going, but I stopped by Johnny O's, which is Jon Favreau's bar. And he's like, I didn't know it mattered to you. Like, I don't know why you're so upset you broke up with me. And I'm like, fuck this movie.
Yep.
She tried to be nice to you. Like, she shouldn't have. She should have fucking left, but like, fuck.
Yeah.
And she then reiterates what she said at the beginning of the movie, where she's like, I went above and beyond. I cooked, I cleaned, I took care of you. I supported you. I supported your work. I make all the plans. I take care of everything, and you don't appreciate or contribute to any of it, which makes me feel like you don't appreciate me and my place in this relationship as a person.
Wow,
Yeah.
that kind of sounds like a breakup in your realm.
Yeah. And she just says, I just wanted to know that you care. Like, that's it. Like,
Yeah.
something, some investment. And he says, well, why didn't you say that? And I'm like, I'm not a mind reader. And I'm like, she did say that. She said it at the fucking beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
She explicitly said it. Like, how are you going to try and gaslight us as the audience into thinking that you did not already hear this speech multiple times? Like, what the fuck?
Not defending him, giving generalized relationship advice. Like I said, do not make important conversations when you're fighting. Be like, I need to talk to you about something important. We need to sit down and discuss this. I need you to hear it. Of like, I need this. And when you do this, the I feelings, I statements are really good.
Understandable. I'm just saying, within this movie, she calmly has reiterated this to him at least twice. Yeah.
He's an idiot.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
not an idiot. He's a toxic, abusive jerk.
Yes. Anyway, so he's like, I didn't realize. And he tries to get close to her and she says, I just want you to leave. And then he does not leave and gets closer to her. And I'm like, she asked you to go. She set up a boundary and
Yep.
he's ignoring that. And then he eventually goes and goes back to the bar.
Another pro tip. Afterwards, you say, if someone's apologized, be like, okay, so reiterate, like, what did you hear me saying?
Right.
So that you understand that they understood you. Because he might be like, I never heard that. But she's like, I've explained that. So it's good to like get recognition that like, hey, do you understand what I'm saying? What are you sorry for? You, like if someone, you know, like that's a hard question. Because some people will just apologize and not understand what is going on.
They'll apologize to make you stop talking.
Right.
Yeah.
Not him. He's so toxic. There's no apologies in this movie.
Yeah. No, he never apologizes to her, even at the end.
It's terrible. Yeah.
It's terrible. So he goes back to the bar, and finally Jon Favreau is like, oh, by the way, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
But then he goes into this whole thing of like, you're going to do what you want to do. And if it's not what anyone else wants to do, it's their problem. Like, you've never come to a game with me. It's only when your team is playing. But then he goes off on this weird, like, you really liked her and you never let your guard down. And I'm like, that's not what this is at all. This is him being a selfish, abusive jerk.
Yeah.
It is not about letting guards down. Like, take responsibility for what fucking happened. It's nuts.
I'll say this. You should be vulnerable in your relationships. That's not
Yeah.
Yeah, you
necessarily
should.
bad
Absolutely.
advice, but he needs way more advice than just that.
Right. We can't even get to vulnerable if he can't get to, oh, people have needs and wants outside of me. Like, vulnerable's a ways away, I would say.
Oh, you mean other people aren't NPCs in video games? Wild. That's weird.
Wild.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They're not.
Oh, Mikey. There's a protest in Canada you should be at right now.
Oh, geez.
I don't believe in foreign lands. I don't even know what that means.
And Todd, you shouldn't believe in trucks. So, like, for both of you, it should be a problem. Anyway, so we cut to the next day at the gallery, and Jennifer Aniston quits her job to go travel, which honestly, I'm like, I love this for you.
Yeah.
You should live your
Yeah.
live your hero arc.
Get your groove back. Yeah.
Get your groove back. So her boss actually very sweetly is just like, hey, travel, if you get to Italy, go to this place, take as long as you want, and your job will be waiting for you. And if you decide that this is not what you want to do, text.
Yeah.
Basically, like, when you figure it out, let me know.
That's so nice.
But until then, your job is waiting. That's so nice.
Also would have took the blank check as well, though.
I would not have. I understood where she was coming from with that, because she's also definitely going to get the money payout from the condo. So, like...
Oh, in my mind, she was taking this trip on the equity from the house or the condo.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So we cut to she's taking a client back to her apartment. We don't know why. It's played like it might be kind of a date because it is the guy who hit on her before.
Yes, it is.
But she goes into the apartment and it's completely clean, and he set the table for dinner and made dinner.
Yeah.
And is like, can I talk to you in private? And I thought for a hot second that this movie was going to have them get back together after he did the bare fucking minimum, and I was going to be furious.
You mean after he did the dishes once, they were going to get back together?
Once.
Yeah. I'm so glad they didn't, though. I do like that I actually sort of like him in this scene because he starts to own what he did in the relationship a little bit.
A little
It still
bit.
is the bare minimum page.
It's the bare minimum.
I completely agree with you on that.
It's the first step.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
It is a first step into growth. And I love that she's like, I still think I'm done. Like, I love that that's the way this scene ends. I was so happy about that.
I loved that what she says is, I don't think I have anything left to give you. And I was like, damn straight, girl. Hightail it out. Like, bye. And he leaves, assuming that she's going to have dinner with that other guy, but it turns out she's just selling some of the art from the apartment.
Yes.
But there's a really cool shot of like him going into the elevator and the elevator's doors closed, revealing the other guy.
Yeah, because they're mirrored. I really like that shot too. Yeah.
Right. So he goes back to the bar and he's basically just like, I did all the stuff. Why does she like me? And I'm like, this movie doesn't fucking get it.
Yeah, I feel like the movie is playing it like she should have taken him back in that moment.
Right.
Which is bonkers. She made the right call by saying no to that.
She did. Yeah, she did.
I mean, but she was honestly super kind about it. That's like, I think one of the reasons I like that scene so much is because he's making a gesture. She acknowledges that.
Right.
She's like, I understand what you're trying to do here. Thank you. But it's still a no from me, dog.
Right.
And I liked that a lot.
I feel like their pattern was probably similar, where he would do something like this and she would take him back.
I agree. Yeah.
Right.
And so, like, it's a good moment of growth for her, just being like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like, I don't know if either of you watched Fleabag.
No, but I heard it's amazing.
Okay, I feel like the first season's a hard watch, but you gotta get through it to get to the second season. And the second season is fucking phenomenal, and I love it so much. Anyway, the first season, she has a boyfriend that she breaks up with, and they have a cycle of like, she breaks up with him, he cleans the whole house to move his stuff out, but then he always leaves one specific thing behind so that he has to come back and get it. But it like that's their
The leave
unhealthy,
behind.
terrible cycle.
Yeah.
The leave behind. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we cut to Vince Vaughn goes to his office and finally does the tour fucking logs. And I'm like, yeah, that's your job. Again, we're rewarding you for doing the bare fucking minimum.
Can I say something about the leave behind?
Yes.
I've had that backfire on me once.
Yeah.
I moved all my stuff out of an apartment that I was sharing, cohabitating with someone.
Uh-huh.
And I left one of my computers.
Oh, no.
Just the computer, not the monitor, just one of the computers. And I called her 2 weeks later. I was like, hey, I think I left my computer there. And she said, you did. And I was like, cool, can I come by and get it? And she was like, my brother and I used it for target practice. And she sent me a photo of my computer with like 85 bullet holes in it.
Wow, that sounds like you guys really left on good terms.
Yeah. It sounds amicable.
We didn't talk much after that.
Yeah, no, I would imagine. Anyway, so we're supposed to reward him for doing the fucking bare minimum, but then we cut to their condo empty. They're finally moving out. And she's like, well, there's a bunch of things I would have done differently because when I see this, I realize that we could have had a pool table. And I'm like, don't olive branch this.
I know.
Like, fuck him.
I do also like that he says, because she's like, had we not had the oversized couch and this, we could have done it.
Right.
And he says, I found the oversized couch like super usable during this past 2 weeks.
Right, during the last few weeks.
I sort of like that he makes a joke of it. Like, it is very clear to me that he is sort of starting down the path of growth here, but
Maybe.
she doesn't need to be present for that growth and should
does
not
not.
be, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We cut to him giving one of his tours where we find out that Chicago is called the second city because after the fire, it came back bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
Which I think this movie thinks is a metaphor for him and the relationship. And I'm like, it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Because in the movie's mind, they burn down their relationship, and then it thinks when she gets back from her trip and they run in together in that last scene that they're going to come back bigger and stronger.
Oh, hate it.
I have an alternate viewpoint.
Hate it.
Yeah.
So we cut to Winter, and we did see he was giving that speech on a boat. So they do get the boat. We cut to Winter.
Yes.
She runs into him on the sidewalk, and they're just like, "Oh, you're looking good. You're looking good." And she's like, "Well, maybe I'll come for a ride on the boat." And he's like, "Anytime. We shouldn't wait to see each other so long next time." Oh, okay. Winky blinky.
And that's the
movie.
There's a weird vibe at that last scene. I
Hate
can't
it.
wait for this fun fact.
So in my mind, the weird vibe is because he fully wants her to come take that boat ride for them to get back
Yep.
together. And she walks down the street and calls her friend and be like, guess who I just saw? The bullet I dodged that I'm never going to see again.
I think the movie wants you to think that she's going to take that boat ride and then it's going to start on a new
Exactly.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't get that reading. I just was like, oh, this is like as awkward as running into an ex.
It is as awkward as running into an ex, but I think the movie really wants you to think they're going to get back together.
Right. I did not choose to believe that. Anyway, so having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what did you guys think about the breakup?
Hate it.
I don't think I have much to add. Yeah.
I did not like this movie either. I was very grateful when it ended.
Great pick, Todd.
I mean, I told you my algorithm for picking movies. If I don't have a strong, like, oh, we should do this, I've told you how I find movies. So,
I respect your process.
yeah,
I really
thank
do.
you. But anyway, I fully did not like this movie, though. I understand why it got very low critic ratings. Well, and
audience
ratings, yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes is not kind on this one.
Nor should it be. Yeah, the Rotten Tomatoes score, we never do this, but the critic score for this is a 34 and the audience score is 46. So for both of them, they're under 50, which is a bad sign.
Yikes.
That's high.
Well, I mean, not everyone's a critic, right? But anyway, but Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I have a few.
Well, here it is with your fun facts.
Toxic fun facts.
I like toxic fun facts. That's better.
So their condo today, which I have numbers for today, but today their condo would cost somewhere between $300,000 to $350,000 as far as purchasing it.
That's amazing to me that it's that cheap in Chicago. Like,
Yeah.
Todd, Chicago is cheaper to live in than Nashville right now.
that's
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
crazy because, like, I grew up here and it was not that way.
Yeah. Now that means that they would be splitting a mortgage of between $2,000 to $2,500 depending on their rates and depending on how much they put down.
Yeah.
So that means that they're both paying, let's call it $1,200
Yeah.
each for that mortgage. Now, depending on their jobs, because he owns his own company, it's not unfeasible that he could potentially pay $2,000 on his own, depending on what he makes at work
Yeah.
in the company. For her to work in a gallery, she's working largely on commission, but that's like, commissions on $35,000 sales and things like that. And she seems to be very successful at her job.
Yeah.
She could almost definitely afford the mortgage of $2,000, which means that there was no reason for them to sell and split. One of them could have just bought the other one out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because that seems like something they would easily do.
I mean, I know that there was no way they were going to agree on that. I'm just saying that, like, that becomes the reason for the realtor to be like, you guys can't afford the mortgage on your own. And I'm like, what? Like, they fully can, though, probably.
He wanted that commission, Paige.
I guess.
That's what it was, yeah. But Paige, I don't know what art dealers make in commission, but if she's like, say that $35,000, if she's getting 5% commission on that,
it's
that's
usually 10 at least.
Oh, is it? So
Yeah.
if it's 10%, then she's getting $3,500 every time she sells. If she sells more than barely more than one a week, let's say 5 a month, that's $17,000 a month.
Yeah. Well, and I had a
That's
friend who worked
crazy.
for like an art replica furniture place, and they were making commission. They hadn't even hired commission. So like, depending on, now granted, you have to be good at your job and it's
Yeah.
kind of feast or famine, but like, I think she could have potentially afforded the mortgage on her own. I think he could have too.
Yeah.
So I think that just becomes a weird story point.
I
Yeah.
think their friend was just like, sell this place. Let's not do this. Let's just get out of here.
I mean, to be honest, it is the smarter thing to do. But
It is.
so Vince Vaughn's parents actually both have bit roles in the movie. His mom plays a tourist on the boat, and his father plays Jennifer Aniston's father.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, that's funny.
awesome.
Yeah. He also gained 26 pounds for the role. He was not asked to, but he quit smoking. And when you quit smoking, that's what happens to you. So
Okay.
they kind of wrote it into the movie. Before Jennifer Aniston takes the nude walk in the apartment, she looks at herself in the mirror and says, "Who loves you, baby?" Which was Telly Savalas' catchphrase, who again is Jennifer Aniston's godfather. It's a real weird inclusion in this movie.
It's really weird that her godfather is the word for Brazilian in this movie.
Yeah, and it's because he's bald and like known to be bald, but that's a lot.
That's wild. Yeah.
So in the opening scene at Wrigley Field, Jon Favreau makes a reference to going to Wiener Circle to have hot dogs after the game. So Wiener Circle is a hot dog stand famous for the staff insulting customers when they order. And if the customer does not return an insult, they don't take your order. So I have really wanted to go. But allegedly, this only happens late at night on the weekends.
As someone who is amazing at roasting people, Paige, you would do very well at that place.
I would have fun, I think.
Yeah, I think you
Oh,
would.
yeah.
Anyway, when that one scene where she goes over to her friend's house and they're giving the kids a bath, she pulls a bar of soap out of one of the kids' mouths and says, "We'll leave this for when you're 12. And that's a nod to the fact that that kid's father in the movie, her husband, is Peter Billingsley, who played Ralphie in A Christmas
Yeah.
Story and gets a mouthful
Really?
of soap. Yeah. It's a real
Wow.
roundabout reference.
Mikey, fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
They just greenlit a sequel where he's like a grown-up version of Ralphie.
I just have no emotional attachment to A Christmas Story.
I don't either, Paige.
Well, he's a good producer and director, and
That's
Yeah.
true. He's made a lot of good shit.
Yeah.
and I think he's in charge of it. So I think it'll be like
Okay.
a good passion project.
Okay.
I'm just all down for more Christmas movies.
That makes
for
sense,
sure.
Mikey. Yeah.
So in the original screenplay, Jennifer Aniston said that when she received it, quote, "it was clearly written by men." So they spent 2 weeks rehearsing and her and Vince Vaughn improving while writers took notes and then rewrote the script that she then thought, quote, included the female perspective.
Wow.
And that's what we got. So I don't know how this movie could be worse, but apparently there was a worse version.
Yeah, if this is the better version, that's wild.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Toward the end, when he's on the boat, he actually uses a line that he's used in multiple movies talking about getting hopped up and making bad decisions. He also says this multiple times in Wedding Crashers.
Yeah.
We did talk about Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn were dating throughout filming. And then the original ending featured them running into each other at an art fair, each dating someone that looked exactly like the other person, but it is a new partner. Like his date looks like her date looks like him. But they scrapped it when it tested poorly. So they filmed a new ending with the same result, but just them running into the street alone so that it would be ambiguous. But in the script, the directions indicate that they both remain broken up and don't end up together.
Good.
Oh, good.
Fucking good. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk some box office. So, what do you think the production budget was for The Breakup in 2006?
More than it's worth. I'm going to say 40.
50.
50 might be closer. I'm going to stick with 40 though.
Okay. Paige, you're at 40. Mikey, you're at 50. It was $52 million.
Jeez.
Which, if you adjust that for inflation, because this was fully like 15 years ago, that is almost $72 million.
Ugh.
Again, that's today dollars, but
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
which is appropriate. This movie came out on June 2nd, 2006, as we've mentioned. It was number 1 the weekend it came out. Number 2 was X-Men The Last Stand.
Ooh. Oh, no, wait. Last Stand's the shitty one. Sorry.
Yes,
I
it
was
is.
thinking of First Class and Days of Future Past.
No, Last Stand was X-Men 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the terrible one. Because
It
X2
is.
had been so fucking good. X2 is amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So number 3 was Over the Hedge. Number 4 was The Da Vinci Code. And number 5 was Mission Impossible. And I already mentioned The Breakup was number 1. But what do you think it made in its opening weekend?
20 million.
Yes, it definitely probably made about 20 million because they advertised it like it was a romantic comedy. Like
I got suckered in.
so many people did, and then word got out immediately that it was terrible. But I'm
Yeah.
gonna say 20 mil. I think Mikey's right.
All right. It made $39.1 million in its opening weekend, which, if you adjust that for inflation, that's around $54 million. But again, in 2006 dollars, it was $39.1 million. Guys, its second weekend out, it was number 2 that weekend, its second weekend, but it made $20.3 million.
I know I was definitely seeing X-Men Last Stand this weekend because this was my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, June of 2006. I would have just graduated.
Wild. Okay, so what do you think it went on to make domestically at the box office?
I hope not more than 85.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 74.
All right. Well, you guys are both way off. It made $118.7 million.
I hate everything. This is such a terrible movie.
Now, internationally, it made another $87 million.
Todd, stop. No.
These are just facts.
I know.
You can't get mad at me. That puts the total box office at $205.7 million. If you adjust for inflation, that's $284 million in today's dollars. But still, in 2006 dollars, over $200 million, and then went on to make another 53.4 in the
Okay.
home market.
Stop.
Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap this up.
I sort of love how much you guys hate how successful this movie was.
Painful.
And I told you guys going in, my criteria was a box office hit.
Is highest
That
box
was
office,
terribly
lowest critic
reviewed.
score.
Yeah. So anyway, you should have seen this coming. That puts the total amount drawn in for this movie at like $258 million in 2006. And if you adjust that for inflation, that's like $360 million today.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
My heart hurts.
I'm so sorry that the success of this movie is giving you heart palpitations, but that is your box office.
Ugh.
I guess there's
think
no
they're still
need
together?
to. Yeah. I was about to say, I guess there's no need for that because we don't, and the director and writer said that they weren't.
I hope not.
Yeah. I do think that Jennifer Aniston is dating someone who looks a little like Vince Vaughn, but attractive. And Vince Vaughn is trying to date someone who is as hot as Jennifer Aniston is, but is not successful.
He's not
Yeah.
his characters. Oh, you mean it's. Oh, okay. I thought you meant like a real life.
I don't remember what his character's name was. Gary?
I have a personal fun fact.
Oh my God. I'm so tired.
Yeah, you're the reason we had to record so late. You're the reason it's 11:11
Well,
right now.
no, but also my thing malfunctioned.
That is true.
It was a melody of errors.
My personal fun fact is John Favreau's character's name in this movie is Johnny O, and that was the
Yeah.
nickname for my high school here in Nashville. Yeah.
Okay.
So this week I made you guys watch The Breakup. Mikey, what are you making us watch next week?
I think we're in February now.
We are.
Yeah.
I've never been a big Valentine's Day guy, but it is Black History Month.
Yes.
And we're doing African American women.
Yeah, Black Women in Horror on Horror Virgin.
Yes.
I think it'd be fun to do some, African American movies for February, or at least one.
Love it.
Unlike Todd, I'm going to pick a movie I've seen and enjoy, and I think would probably make Todd cry. I'm going to pick Love and Basketball.
I almost picked Love and Basketball.
Oh my
I picked
God.
something else, but that was my, I was debating between Love and Basketball and what I'm going to pick next week. I am very excited that we are doing Love and Basketball. I will cry 100%.
I've actually never seen it, but I'm looking forward to it. Like, I've heard a lot of people say that they love this movie.
It's a good movie.
And it's available for free right now on HBO Max, so I appreciate that.
There you go.
So your homework for next week is to watch Love and Basketball while being wine drunk.
Yeah.
Watch it with your lover.
Or a basketball.
Or wine. So, Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
I do.
Nice. Whose review are you going to read this week?
Bad Speller Me.
Well, what does Bad Speller Me have to say?
They say, title, a podcast so good, they should do scary movies too, which I think is funny.
Well, I got good news for you, Bad Speller Me.
This podcast has everything: romance, laughter, problematic plots,
Yes.
long walks along a continental U.S., magic mailboxes. I have not read all these. Vitamin water.
I know who left this review, by the way, too.
Trucks with motives.
Rude bad smeller me.
Dick neck.
Oh,
no
yeah.
cuts.
No cuts.
Kool-Aid man dumps.
That sounds like the Kool-Aid man is taking a shit. The Kool-Aid man just wants to dump it all in you. Ladies.
Musicals. Shoulders.
Yeah.
Consent.
Very important.
Ghosting.
Yep.
Gack.
Gotta get gack.
Spit list.
Yep.
I forgot about the spit list.
I know. We haven't added anybody to it in a while. Joe Manganiello, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Ear cancer.
Rude.
Finances. Inflation. Poo. C.
Yeah, he said pussy.
Mikey, you just said pussy.
God dang it! Dang it, I was tricked. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Winky. I'm starting to cough. Winkies.
Yep.
Blinkies.
Always followed.
A career in monster truck naming. James Bond's plot to kill the Batman in 9/11.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Tears. Improv song parodies.
Yes.
A cornucopia of theme songs.
Thank you, Aaron.
Fun facts. Time
Yes.
murder. Time grooming. Bread ornaments. Mannequins.
Yep.
Christmas Mikey. Toddy Body. And
Oh,
Paige.
God.
I don't have nearly enough podcasts, Wesley. Boom. 5 stars.
Oh,
So
my
that
God.
was actually written. That was written by Grayson, who's done some graphic stuff for Horror Virgin. Did our 200 episode graphic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. He also
there
designed
you
our
go.
Coffin Rock shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. He actually reached out to me too, and he was like, make sure Mikey reads this one.
I'll get you, Grayson.
He asked me, does Mikey proofread the reviews? And I was
Does
like,
talent
he
proofread?
absolutely- See? Now you all get to see the real Mikey.
He never proofreads anything.
Grayson, thank you so much for that awesome 5-star review. And if you want to trick Mikey into saying any amount of weird thing, leave us a 5-star review. He'll never proofread it.
And remember, fuck you, San Diego.
From Anchorman, Paige.
Yeah, but wait, why?
Because he
Because
reads
Because
the
he doesn't
teleprompter.
proofread it.
Welcome to the conversation.
I forgot about the teleprompter. Oh, yeah.
Oh
no,
my
you're right.
God. So, yeah, guys, if you like this power throuple that we have here on this podcast, make sure to check out our other podcast, The Horror Virgin. And that is the only other podcast that Mikey and I are on. But Paige gets around, and she is on 2 other podcasts, Black Card Rehab and Cult Podcast. So guys, definitely check out those because they're amazing. If you want to follow us on social, we are at Romancing the Pod Show
Yes.
on Instagram, and we are at something else on Twitter who I just have never taken the time to learn it.
It's just Romancing Pod Show because they have a character limit and it's show SHO like Showtime.
So guys, check that out as well. And if you want to follow us all individually, Paige is at Rampage Wesley everywhere, including TikTok, except for Twitter, where she is at Paige Wesley. Mikey is at MRandolph24, and I am at Todd J. Awesome everywhere. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So send us some stuff.
Yeah.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
To completion.
I want you to want to do the dishes.
Bye, toxic nerds.